Okay, so this is a translation and a discussion of the Aeneid, Book 11, lines 570 to 580, and we're talking about Camilla, who obviously is being raised in wild circumstances by her father, Medibus, and we begin here talking about how he has escaped and his exile from these hostile places and people, and now he's in the wilderness raising his daughter. And so let's go ahead and get started. So this guy, referring obviously to the father, Medibus, remember when it has a long I, it is here. Short I is going to be from hic, haec, hoc, the demonstrative that means this and these in the plural. So this guy was nourishing, and that's your direct object, was nourishing his daughter. Now remember, this is originally from naskor, naski, not assume, and so it's literally the feminine one having popped out the womb, a.e. daughter. Nevertheless, and he was doing so in Dumis, in the brambles, que, and in between the bristling wild places, lustra, kind of like the wilderness, as it were. And he was nourishing that daughter with the breasts, and so that is in the, of course, ablative plural, of a female horse of the herd. Here is an adjective that means related to a herd, and indeed it is modifying equi in the genitive singular. And he was nourishing his daughter with wild milk. He emulgates, a present active participle, milking the udders to her tender lips, as it were. And so because this is a compounded verb, or from a compounded verb, it is going to require at times a dative, which is what we have here. Utque. And so remember, every single time you see an ut, look to see, is there a subjunctive? Here, there obviously is not. And so therefore, we translate it as. And so as, or and as, an infant, she had pressed on, she had started out, she had instituted, if you would like, as it comes from that, but as she had pressed on the footprints of her feet with, ablative, her first steps, and that steps I'm translating from the literal meaning of your planta, which is the bottom of your feet, as it were. It's where, unfortunately, if you get warts down there, they're known as plantar warts, and you can also suffer from an ailment called plantar fasciitis, in which a part of the lower part of the foot, the bottom of the foot, becomes inflamed. Comma. He armed her hands, her palms, with a sharp javelin, que, and he hangs little arrows, and they are little because it is diminutive, spicula, little sharp points, and he hangs a bow from the shoulder of the little one, of she, or of her, the little one. Pro crinali arrow, on behalf of the hair gold, i.e. we like to call it in my class, the golden beret. And so, or if you would like, hair tie. So instead of, or on behalf of, a hair gold beret, let's say, and on behalf of, or instead of, the covering of a long palla, the hides, the spoils of a wildcat, of a tiger, hangs a vertice, from the crown, implied of her head, from the vertex, through her dorsum, through her back. And she, now then, yam tum, and now our subject is going to obviously be Camilla herself, torqueo, torquere, torsi, which is perfect tense. She, now then, hurled weapons, but they are modified by puerilia, and so therefore they are child-like weapons, or child-sized weapons. Kind of think of it in the fact that I grew up in the country, and so the first kind of weapon I got was a little BB gun that I went out and practiced, and then you move up to maybe getting a pellet gun, and those are the sorts of analogies I think that we could have for these little puerilia tela, BB guns, as it were. So she, now then, hurled through the child-sized weapons with her tender hand, and she drove round her head, so she drove around her head a slingshot. the accusative object of agate, whereas here caput is the accusative object of the preposition, with a smooth leather strap. And she threw down, i.e. she shot down, she knocked down, but she threw down the Strymonian crane, or she shot down, threw down a white swan. And so therefore, you can see from the very days that she can even step, from the very days that she can even function, she is becoming a huntress of the wild places, and that is one of the reasons why she is so dear, obviously, to Diana's heart. So keep studying, and next installment will be the last of what we read in Book 11 about Diana. Thanks.